but it was essential questions. I have another round of questions. I just wanted to try and manage this as best as possible. Can I take you up your way? And then are you comfortable to to hold it for the second round so that we can reflect, and you may find that perhaps our responses also respond to your concerns of your way, and then we will have the SG coming back.
Thank you, Mbalula from ANC. Just on the state of natural disaster, how soon can we then see load shedding reduced? And then my second question is around what you mentioned about the EFF seemingly charging towards the president, and that obviously looks criminal in some certain ways. Are you going to take action against that?
If I may, SG, this is your presser, but any question related to the actions of government, we're not going to be able to respond to that because we are still going into the SONA. I know that there was a question from TD also that spoke to the mandate of government. And then we keep saying that we're careful not to conflate the party and the state, because that is what has led to the death of many democracies across the world. So all that we can do is to, what's the appropriate word? Direct, advise, recommend, and in some instances intervene and instruct, because we're the governing party. But I wanted to just say, try and find a way of us processing those things beyond the pronouncements by government and the detail that we provided by government, so that when the SG does respond, is responding on the basis of your understanding of the fact that government must do what government must do. So that is just the one thing that I wanted to speak on. But I want to go back to the SG, and then I'll come back. I saw your hands and several hands. I'll come back to that. SG?
Yes, thank you very much for the questions. Newsroom, in terms of the minister about within the presidency and the disaster opening up for looting. The minister in the presidency, in particular electricity, like I said, I wish to repeat.
Specifically, that speaks to concerns that I think are wider than the DA, where South Africans are concerned. There is a credibility question around the way the ANC government deals with particular matters. I know that there is a caveat with the Auditor General being involved, and the Auditor General, of course, being involved in KwaZulu-Natal as well. I just wanted to weigh in on that. And lastly, on local government, Bucks, the president speaks about how local government and state-owned enterprises are the weaknesses in the state at the moment. I know the ANC and Lekgotla spoke about wanting to intervene and trying to deploy its senior members to try and assist. What will that actually look like? Are we going to see NEC members being deployed as mayors possibly? What is the vision there? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tidi. I just, SG, can I take 2 more?
Sorry, I wasn't short and sharp. I apologize.
It wasn't short and sharp, but it was essential questions. I have another round of questions. I just wanted to try and manage this as best as possible. Can I take you up your way? And then are you comfortable to hold it for the second round so that we can reflect, and you may find that perhaps our responses also respond to your concerns of your way, and then we will have the SG coming back.
Thank you, Mbalula from ANC. Just on the state of natural disaster, how soon can we then see load shedding reduced? And then my second question is around what you mentioned about the EFF seemingly charging towards the president, and that obviously looks criminal in some certain ways. Are you going to take action against that?
If I may, SG, this is your presser, but any question related to the actions of government, we're not going to be able to respond to that because we are still going into the SONA. I know that there was a question from TD also that spoke to the mandate of government. And then we keep saying that we're careful not to conflate the party and the state, because that is what has led to the death of many democracies across the world. So all that we can do is to, what's the appropriate word? Direct, advise, recommend, and in some instances intervene and instruct, because we're the governing party. But I wanted to just say, try and find a way of us processing those things beyond the pronouncements by government and the detail that we provided by government, so that
the issue of appointing a new minister within the presidency. One of the opposition parties, in fact, said that the president is creating another cabinet of his own within the presidency, just to sum it up. And the second question is around, again, criticism from the opposition, which says that the declaration of the national state of disaster is opening up an avenue of potential looting and corruption. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that.
Along with Korobana from the SABC News, yes. You're saying that the envisaged electricity minister will be a project manager. And you are saying that there won't be any deputy for the coming for the electricity minister. Is it a temporal measure that this minister, as and when that the load sharing is still going or not? Is that what you are saying? If you can give that clarity.
Thank you very much. Sidi?
All right, thank you so much. Fikile Mbalula, Eyewitness News. I just kind of touched on my first question. It's around the Minister of Electricity. It's not only that the President might be creating a super ministry with his office, but the President's office doesn't account to Parliament. So the way people look at it is not only is there a super cabinet, but these are people who don't necessarily have to tell the country and account to us as to what's going on. But also, there's an issue where with the Minister of Electricity is it a vote of no confidence in the two people who were tasked already with dealing with the issue of electricity? You've got Pravin Gordhan at Public Enterprises and Gwede Mantashe at electricity. At minerals and energy. Is it a question of the president working around them? The other thing, again, on the Minister of Electricity is that the president in the same speech speaks about how, they want to try and cut 27 billion because of duplications and duplications and how overlapping in the system. Part of that is because he's created a super presidency. In creating these appointments, it's not just electricity, it is infrastructure, it is climate, it is red tape. There are ministers who are able to deal with that. And then you have a minister and the president saying that the Minister of Electricity's job is to be able to respond to the to account to the president. Then one would ask, what does Mbalula as transport minister do? Is your job not to report directly to the president as well? Just your view on that. And then on the state of disaster as well. The DA has done something really strange where they wanted a state of disaster, ring-fenced or not.
People been pulled out of parliament and all of that. This parliament had to adopt those rules because quite clearly, depending on the interest of another political party with a small percentage, a party which has got the majority and the right to give a state of the nation through its president will be debarred from speaking in parliament. Democracy cannot be tolerant to that. It cannot. Superior logic means you rise through the ideas and the people love you because you are superior and you are an individual or a party that can be listened to because you are superior in terms of ideas but not through anarchy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, SG. At this point, I'd like to invite commentary, questions from yourselves. We're wanting to keep this very interactive, but yet brief, so that the SG has a chance to do one-on-ones. I know that colleagues in the print space often complain about the fact that they don't have enough time to dive deeper. And so we want to be able to satisfy all the media platforms and the different mediums of the media. So I'd like us to be really crisp with our questions, respond, and then where there is a need for us to do the one-on-ones. I'm looking for Comrade Amos as I speak, for us to allow for that, the curating of that in such a way that we don't disadvantage any media house as part of this interaction with members of the media. So may I have the first takers to actually stand of my hat. I'm going to start with my sister over here and then move on with others. I just, the cameras are blocking the view as well. So I'll start with my sister over here and then my brother over here in the front. Let's just do it. Okay, and then it will be the third person to ask the question. Please proceed.
Thank you so much and welcome to Cape Town. My name is Ati from Newsroom Africa. I have two questions. One is in relation to an issue that you've already clarified, but perhaps respond to particularly the criticism.
Not to stop. They will carry on this path. But at all times, we ask for restraint and deal with issues cool-headed and within the prescripts of the law. But at the end of the day, the rule of law must actually prevail. That includes issues of shutdown. People have got the right to protest, but they've got no right to infringe on the rights of ordinary South Africans. When you say that people must not go to work, what do you mean as a political party and a Democrat? What do you mean? When you say that we must not go to work, you call on truck drivers to close the roads, taxi drivers to close the roads. You are calling for lawlessness. Lawlessness. If you believe in superior logic, that's opposite. Superior logic. That is thriving on anarchy to gain attention. In political terms, it is called global demagoguery. That is now defining the world politics, which have failed in Brazil, by the way. Lula has come back against global demagoguery and populism, and he has come back to lead Brazil. The ANC will not be thrown out of power by demagoguery. Yes, it can be out of power if it is intolerant, it is arrogant, it does not deliver. The ANC will be out of power. But populism, demagoguery, will not take us out of power. We can promise anyone else. Do not. But if we're arrogant, we don't deliver to our people will vote us out of power and will lose power as the ANC. And that is why it is important to work for our people. We don't want to venture into the political space and choose tactics for other political parties. We don't feel proud when our parliament, in front of citizens of the world, speakers of other parliament in the African continent, see what we saw there yesterday. People being pulled out of parliament and all of that. This parliament had to adopt those rules because quite clearly, depending on the interest of another political party, with a small percentage, a party which has got the majority and the right to give a state of the nation through its president will be debarred from speaking in parliament. Democracy cannot be tolerant to that. It cannot. Superior logic means...
Because we're the governing party. But I wanted to just say, try and find a way of us processing those things beyond the pronouncements by government and the detail that we provided by government, so that when the SG does respond, is responding on the basis of your understanding of the fact that government must do what government must do. So that is just the one thing that I wanted to speak on. But I want to go back to the SG, and then I'll come back. I saw your hands, several hands. I'll come back to that. SG?
Yes, thank you very much for the questions. Newsroom. In terms of the minister about within the presidency, and disaster opening up for looting. The minister in the presidency, in particular electricity, like I said, I wish to repeat, it's not going to be like all other ministers. So this is a special arrangement. I've given you an example. It has happened in history in this country. Minister without portfolio, J. Naidu. His job was to look after implementation of the RDP within government, among others. He could be assigned any other portfolio in the presidency. The Minister of Electricity is an intervention. You don't expect that that particular minister will look at something different either than working on the electricity, particularly the electricity crisis, and ensure that things that needs to happen do happen. The two ministers don't just confine themselves to the crisis. They deal with broader issues in terms of energy mix, renewables, and all of that. This one deals with electricity matters, confined to that. So it's not going to go beyond what is assigned. The president explained it simply and say, you would like that person to sleep, eat, and follow on the actions we have said we'll implement. Issues of this one deals with electricity matters, confined to that. So it's not going to go beyond what is assigned. The president explained it simply and say, you would like that person to sleep, eat, and follow on the actions we have said we'll implement. Issues of accountability in terms of parliament, obviously, they will have to find expression in how that is going to be structured going forward in terms of this ministry. Now, we don't expect a budget of Ministry of Electricity. That will have to be done in the confines of the presidency, because the task of this person is a project manager to ensure that targets have been met by the board and by the management of ESCOM, and report directly to the president. Quite often people ask, is the president hands-on? The president is the chief executive officer of South Africa. So in this particular instance, he can appoint people to act on his behalf and report directly to him. And then that in itself brings the matters close to him to ensure that things do happen. And in doing so, he doesn't need to second guess. He just needs concrete evidence from a well-informed position about what needs to happen. Ladies and gentlemen, we are faced with a monumental crisis, which is characterized as an existential crisis for this country in terms of business and also South Africa as a brand. I saw Richard Quest here making a joke about us, CNN, here in Cape Town during the mining industry. And that tells you a story about us, blackouts and blackouts and blackouts. For others, it's a political mileage. But as a country, as a nation, we are facing a monumental disaster. And that disaster, we need to arrest it. It will not be arrested by one person, but government, all hands on deck, everything. One day we will say, this minister was correct or incorrect. One day. And it did help or did not help. Just give it space. There is a whole package of things that we have agreed and have been announced within the framework of the disaster, particularly with the COVID-19, have acted in a corrupt manner, which was arrested. We had to establish fusion center. to deal with this corruption. And you media, you don't talk about how much money was recovered. Which money was recovered? That was stolen by people who were using PPEs to steal the money. Money was recovered in billions of rands. And other people have been chased, and some of the people are facing the wrath of the law. They are before the courts. We woke up in this country, somebody we knew was poor, posted on social media 4 or 5 cars, only to find that he was chowing PPE money. And then that person is before the courts. Held accountable by what? By intervention by the state, in terms of some of the interventions. Are the concerns far-fetched? No. We have given you firm commitment, and government have done so. The disaster management, when it comes to expenditure and procurement, it's not going to be allowed to go out of hand. Somebody was asking when it was announced that we'll activate diesel capacity in order to back up what is in existence at the current moment, so that we are able to also bring diesel into the space and all of that, and supply diesel, and said that how many tenders, who's going to get the tender, and all of that. All of those things will be dealt with. The most important thing is to do away with load shedding. But at the end of the day, we must not allow the state of disaster, like we've learned from the past, to repeat itself at the present moment. So there are systems, there are checks and balances to ensure that these things don't happen. Political parties do their job to raise their concerns, but at the end of the day, we've got the responsibility to govern and to take the country out of the crisis that we're in and lead. For them, if this crisis is not resolved, it's a multiplier to their prospects of leading this country through a coalition or by whatever means in 2024. For us, it's not just about 2024. President talks about we are going to implement the just transition within our means, within our own pace. That is what he actually says.